Now listen, this is something people don't always want to hear, but it's something you need to understand if you want clarity in your life. If a man misses you, really misses you, he's not going to sit around wondering what to do. He's not going to overthink it. He's not going to let distance, time, or pride stop him. When a man feels something real, something deep, something that matters, he will find a way to reach you. That's just how it works. You see, a lot of people get confused because they listen to words instead of watching actions. Words can sound beautiful. Words can make you feel special. But words don't require effort. Anybody can say, I miss you. Anybody can send a message when it's convenient. But a man who truly misses you doesn't wait for convenience. He creates opportunity. He makes time. He adjusts his schedule. He steps out of his comfort zone because being connected to you matters more than anything else in that moment. Now let me tell you something real. People do exactly what they want to do. Not what they say they'll do, not what they think they should do, what they want to do. If he wants to call you, he will. If he wants to see you, he will. If he wants to stay in your life, he will make sure you feel his presence. There won't be confusion. There won't be long gaps filled with silence and excuses. Because when someone values you, they don't leave you guessing your worth. And I know sometimes you start making excuses for him. You say, "He's busy," or "He's going through something," or maybe he just needs space. But let me explain something. Being busy doesn't stop someone from reaching out to the person they truly care about. We all have responsibilities. We all have struggles. But when someone is on your mind, when someone is in your heart, you find even a few seconds just to remind them that they matter. See, when a man misses you, it's not just a thought. It's a feeling that pushes him into action. It bothers him. It pulls at him. It makes him want to hear your voice, see your face, feel your presence again. And that feeling is powerful enough to break through any excuse, any distance, any obstacle. That's why when there's no action, you have to stop and ask yourself a real question. Does he actually miss you, or do you just miss him? Because those are two very different things. Missing someone can make you hold on to hope that isn't real. It can make you ignore signs that are right in front of you. But the truth is always simple. If he misses you, he will find a way. And if he's not finding a way, then you need to understand that his feelings may not be as strong as yours. Now, that doesn't mean you're not worthy. That doesn't mean you're not valuable. It just means you're investing your energy in someone who isn't matching it. And that's where you have to make a decision. Are you going to keep chasing something that isn't chasing you back? Or are you going to step back and allow the right person to show you what real effort looks like? Because the right man, the one who truly values you, won't leave you in confusion. He won't make you question where you stand. He won't disappear and expect you to wait around. No, he will show up. He will be consistent. He will make it clear that you matter in his life. At the end of the day, you deserve someone who doesn't just say they miss you, but proves it. Someone who doesn't just think about you, but reaches for you. And once you understand that, you stop settling for less. You stop chasing, and you start attracting the kind of love that meets you halfway. That's the difference between words and reality. And that's the truth, straight from Steve Harvey style, simple, honest, and impossible to ignore. When it comes to relationships, one of the biggest mistakes people make is believing words over actions. You'll hear things like, "I miss you," "I've been thinking about you," or "I've just been busy." And you want to believe it because it feels good. It gives you hope. But the truth is, real interest, genuine, undeniable interest, doesn't hide behind excuses. It shows up clearly through action. A man who truly values you doesn't leave you confused about where you stand in his life. His behavior answers that question without you having to ask it. Think about it for a moment. In your own life, when something really matters to you, you find a way to make it happen. It doesn't matter how busy you are, how tired you feel, or how complicated things get. You make time, you adjust, you prioritize. That's how human nature works. So when someone isn't doing that for you, it's not because they can't, it's because they're choosing not to. And that's a hard truth to accept, but it's one that can save you from wasting your time and energy. A lot of people stay stuck because they keep giving the benefit of the doubt. They tell themselves stories as to justify someone else's lack of effort. Maybe he's overwhelmed. Maybe he doesn't know how to express himself. Maybe he'll change. But let me tell you something, when a man is truly interested, you won't need to decode his behavior like a puzzle. You won't need to search for hidden meanings or make excuses on his behalf. His effort will be obvious. It will be consistent. It will be intentional. Real interest creates clarity. It doesn't create confusion. When someone cares about you deeply, they don't risk losing you by being distant or unavailable. They don't disappear for days and come back with weak explanations. They don't leave you wondering if you're important to them. Instead, they make sure you feel valued through their actions. They call you. They check on you. They show up, and most importantly, they do it without being asked. Now, here's where it gets real. You have to stop measuring someone's feelings by what that they say and start measuring them by what they do. Because actions require effort, and effort is the true reflection of how much someone cares. Words are easy, words are comfortable, but action, that takes intention, that takes desire, that takes a genuine emotional investment. And sometimes the hardest part is letting go of what you hoped something could be and accepting what it actually is. Because when you finally step back and look at the situation honestly, you start to see the truth. If he's not calling, it's because he doesn't want to. If he's not making time, it's because you're not a priority. If he's not showing up, it's because his interest isn't strong enough to move him into action. That realization can hurt, but it's also powerful. Because once you understand that real interest is always visible, you stop settling for less. You stop chasing people who aren't chasing you. You stop investing in one-sided connections, and you start raising your standards without even saying a word. This is something Steve Harvey has always emphasized in his way. Simple but real people do what they want to do. And when you accept that truth, everything becomes clearer. You no longer get caught up in confusion, mixed signals, or false hope. You start seeing people for who they really are, not who you want them to be. And once you reach that point, your mindset shifts. You begin to value your time, your energy, and your presence. You stop trying to convince someone to see your worth, and instead you expect them to recognize it on their own. Because the right person, the one who truly has real interest in you, won't need to be reminded. They'll show it every single time without hesitation. Effort is something you can't fake for long. It's the clearest, most honest sign of how someone truly feels about you. When a man is emotionally invested, when he genuinely cares, it naturally shows in what he does. He doesn't just talk about missing you, he proves it. He reaches out, he checks in, he makes time, and he finds ways to stay connected no matter what's going on in his life. That effort becomes consistent, not occasional, and that consistency is what separates real feelings from temporary emotions. A lot of people confuse small gestures with real effort. A random message here and there, a late night text, or a quick call when it's convenient. These things can feel meaningful in the moment, but they don't always reflect true investment. Real effort has intention behind it. It's planned, it's thoughtful. It shows that you are not just an option when there's nothing else to do, but a priority even when life gets busy. That's the difference people often overlook. When someone truly values you, they don't wait for the perfect moment to show it. They create the moment. They don't let distance become an excuse or silence become normal. Instead, they close the gap. They make sure that no matter how far apart you are, you still feel their presence. That's what emotional investment looks like. It's active, not passive. It moves towards you, not away from you. And here's something important to understand. Effort is driven by desire. You can't force someone to put in effort if the desire isn't there. You can't ask someone to care more, to try harder, or to show up consistently if they don't genuinely want to. That has to come from within them. That's why trying to convince someone to value you is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Because if they don't naturally feel that pull toward you, no amount of explaining or hoping is going to create it. Sometimes people give just enough effort to keep you around, but not enough to truly build something real. And that's where you have to be careful. Because partial effort can be misleading. It can make you think something deeper is developing when in reality it's just the bare minimum to maintain your attention. True effort, on the other hand, is consistent and undeniable. It doesn't leave room for doubt. It doesn't make you question where you stand. This is something Steve Harvey often expresses in his straightforward way. If a man cares, you'll know. If he doesn't, you'll be confused. Effort removes confusion. It gives you clarity. It reassures you without needing constant words. It shows you that you matter, not just through promises, but through real, repeated actions. And once you start recognizing effort as the true measure of emotional investment, your perspective changes. You stop focusing on what someone says they feel and start paying attention to how they show it. You begin to understand that real connection isn't built on potential or empty words, but on consistent actions that prove someone's willing to invest their time, energy, and attention into you. Silence has a way of revealing things that words often try to hide. When communication fades, when the calls stop, when the messages become shorter or disappear altogether, what you're left with is not confusion, it's truth. People often think silence is complicated, that it needs to be decoded or analyzed, but in reality, silence is one of the clearest forms of communication. It shows you where you stand when everything else is stripped away. When someone truly values you, silence doesn't last long. It feels uncomfortable to them. It creates a gap they want to close. They notice your absence, they feel the distance, and it pushes them to reach out. But when that silence stretches, When days turn into weeks without effort, that's not it's a decision. It means they are choosing not to connect, choosing not to engage, choosing not to prioritize you. And that choice speaks louder than any excuse they could give later. A lot of people struggle with this because silence creates space for imagination. You start filling in the blanks with your own thoughts. You wonder if something is wrong, if they're going through something, if maybe you should reach out first. And while those thoughts are natural, they can also be misleading. Because instead of seeing silence for what it is, you start creating stories to soften its meaning. You turn absence into mystery when in reality it's often clarity. The hardest part about silence is that it forces you to face what you may not want to accept. Words can comfort you even when they're not backed by action. But silence offers no comfort. It doesn't reassure you. It doesn't give you something to hold on to. It simply shows you what's not happening. And what's not happening is just as important as what is. Sometimes people come back after being silent, and that's where things get even more confusing. They return with explanations, with apologies, with reasons that sound convincing in the moment. And you want to believe them because it feels better than accepting that they chose distance over connection. But you have to look at the pattern, not the moment. One return doesn't erase consistent silence. One message doesn't make up for days of absence. Because real interest doesn't disappear without explanation in the first place. This is why silence should never be ignored. It should be understood. It should be respected for the message it carries. If someone can go long periods without speaking to you, without checking on you, without wondering how you are, then you have to ask yourself how important you truly are in their life. Because when you matter to someone, they don't feel comfortable being disconnected from you for long. Steve Harvey has always emphasized in his direct, no-nonsense way that confusion is a sign to pay attention. And silence is one of the biggest sources of that confusion, unless you choose to see it clearly. Because once you stop overthinking it, once you stop trying to explain it away, you realize that silence is not mixed signals. It's a signal in its purest form. And when you finally accept that, something shifts inside you. You stop chasing responses. You stop waiting for messages that may never come. You stop holding on to the idea that things will suddenly change without any real reason. Instead, you start valuing your own presence. You start recognizing that you deserve communication, consistency, and effort, not just when it's convenient, but all the time. Silence, in the end, is not just about the other person. It's also about you. It's about how long you're willing to sit in uncertainty, how much absence you're willing to tolerate, and whether you're ready to accept the truth it's showing you. Because once you truly understand what silence means, you don't fear it anymore, you learn from it, and you move accordingly. There comes a point in every emotional situation where you have to stop listening to what people say and start paying attention to what they actually do. Words can be smooth, comforting, and convincing, but they don't require sacrifice. Actions do. And when you truly break it down, the difference between someone who is genuinely interested in you and someone who is not becomes very simple effort, consistency, and presence. If those three things are missing, everything else is just noise. The first thing you need to understand is that people make time for what matters to them. No matter how busy life gets, no matter how complicated their schedule is, human beings always find time for what they truly value. It doesn't have to be hours or days. Even small, consistent actions are enough to show priority. A message, a call, a check, in a simple effort to stay connected. These things don't take much time, but they reveal a lot about someone's priorities. When someone consistently fails to make that effort, it's not about lack of time, it's about lack of importance. And that truth is often difficult to accept because it forces you to rethink the role you play in their life. The second thing is that consistency matters more than intensity. Anyone can show up strongly for a short period of time. Anyone can make you feel special for a moment, especially in the beginning when emotions are fresh. But real connection is proven over time. It's built in repetition, in steady behavior, in showing up again and again without needing to be reminded. When someone is inconsistent, hot one day, cold the next, you are not dealing with confusion. You are dealing with imbalance in interest. Real interest doesn't disappear and reappear based on mood or convenience. It stays steady even when life is not perfect. The third thing is that confusion itself is a message. A lot of people think confusion means they need more answers, more explanations, more clarity from the other person. But in reality, confusion often comes from inconsistency. When someone truly cares, there is very little confusion. You know where you stand because their actions make it clear. But when you are constantly questioning, guessing, and overthinking, it usually means the behavior you are receiving is not stable enough to trust. Confusion is not something you should sit in for too long. It is something you should observe and learn from. because clarity is supposed to come from the relationship, not from your effort to interpret it. The fourth thing is that your value is not defined by someone else's effort level. Just because someone is not showing up for you doesn't mean you are not worth showing up for. It simply means they are not the right person to recognize that value. People project their own capacity, their own emotional maturity, and their own priorities onto how they treat others. So when someone gives you minimal effort, it reflects their ability and willingness, not your worth. The mistake many people make is internalizing that behavior and thinking they need to do more, be more, or prove more. But the truth is, the right person won't need convincing. They will naturally show you through their actions that you matter. Steve Harvey often puts these kinds of relationship truths in very simple terms. People do what they want to do. And once you fully accept that, you stop over-explaining other people's behavior. You stop making excuses for inconsistency. You stop lowering your standards just to maintain access to someone who is not meeting you halfway. Instead, you start observing patterns, not promises. And when you reach that point of awareness, your entire approach changes. You begin to prioritize actions over words, consistency over potential, and peace over confusion. You stop chasing clarity from people who are unwilling to give it, and you start choosing yourself in situations where you are not being chosen properly.